guys, and welcome to this week's live stream here on Facebook. This week we're going to talk a little bit about the holiday season, Christmas, what was done during the era Joseph was here, what traditions we have today that carry over from them, and what traditions we got rid of, probably for good reasons. Brooke is here with us today. She's going to be telling us a little bit about that early 1820s, 30s, and 40s Christmas, what it was like, what people were celebrating, how they were celebrating, and just kind of get us in the Christmas spirit.
Hi. So most of our Christmas traditions that we celebrate today actually were created in the early 1800s. We're talking 1810, 20, 30, 40, 50s. I do know that The Night Before Christmas was actually written in 1823 by Clement Moore. That was actually based on an anonymous poem that was sent into the New York Magazine. And I'll put a couple of illustrations on the Zoom above. Also, The Christmas Carol, that was a big thing, by Charles Dickens, was written in 1843. So that helped propel an ideal of Christmas. I do want to pinpoint something about Laura Ingalls Wilder, something that she wrote in one of her diaries growing up, living on the Kansas prairie. She talks about her mother here. Ma was busy all day cooking good things for Christmas. She baked salt rising bread and Swedish crackers and a huge pan of baked beans with salt pork and molasses. She baked vinegar pies and dried apple pies and filled a big jar of cookies that she let Laura and Larry lick with a cake spoon. It was this Christmas that she was delighted to find a shiny new tin cup, a peppermint candy, and a heart-shaped cake, and a brand new penny in her stockings. So I wanted to talk about stockings a little bit. Could you fill me in, Daniel, about stockings?
Yeah, so I mean, stockings have obviously been a tradition that we picture for many, many years. And stockings did go past even when she's talking here. So the idea of hanging your stockings by the fire dates back thousands of years. It was basically when you were out in the snow and your socks got wet, because your socks are going to get wet through your shoes because you're walking in the snow, you would then hang them by the fire to dry them. Well, it slowly over time became a tradition that people would slide small presents, snacks, cookies, fruits, whatever you could get a hold of into those stockings for kids, because they knew the next day those kids were taking those down. So as a surprise, it was kind of a, hey, I got something in my stocking. And that slowly became part of Christmas, is that parents would sneak in, drop, when I was a kid, my parents would drop oranges and apples and all the stuff that they wanted me to eat that I didn't want to eat into my stocking. And you kind of had this idea of, you just hang your stocking, and when you read, the Night Before Christmas, you mentioned our stockings were hung by the fireplace with care. That became you slowly started having these specialized stockings for Christmas like we have today. And I know when you mentioned 1843, it brought to mind the Christmas cards. Everyone sends out Christmas cards today. I know my wife is currently working on ours. And in 1843 was actually when the first Christmas card was sent. I'll load up a picture here for everyone to see. But the very first Christmas card ever commercially sent was actually sent in 1843 as well.
Wow.
So obviously some of these kind of things kind of created our modern day Christmas. I know early you had mentioned like Christmas trees and stuff were from this era too. Is that correct, Brooke?
Yes, and we had such a wealth of influx of people that came into America with different traditions. I know that the Germans, a lot of times families were living in America and it was their first generation home. So they did bring traditions and family recipes from where they came from and adopted it to their American life. And the Germans actually introduced Christmas trees, putting them in our homes and decorating with them as something that we still do today.
That's great. Like you said, there's a lot of those festive concepts that exist today. Like I know the Yule log was the same kind of era. A lot of Southern plantation owners, when they moved specifically to Missouri in the 1820s, they would bring the Yule log with them. It was an idea that they started using before that. I know one of my favorite stories from that era is that, nowadays you kind of have that the Christmas poppers people will use. Those actually date back to people used to shoot off fireworks and barrels of gunpowder. They would literally just light barrels of gunpowder off to have these huge explosions in their backyard, to the point where in 1868, there's actually a mayor in Missouri who outlawed guns and fireworks at Christmas because he was getting sick and tired of his entire town basically sounding like a war zone during that era.
Yeah, and that's another point. At what point do you celebrate or conserve your resources? We're getting into Civil War times, and so we're talking about American traditions. How is it that we still have the same traditions today from the 1800s? We went through the Civil War, and a lot of times there were soldiers out there who were alone, and they wanted the nostalgic feelings of their family by them, and so they really propelled that forward. I know that they had venison roasting around their fire in the prairie. This was the wild west times. You had cowboys that were living in very harsh terrains. You had people going west. Christmas was a time where they got to suspend part of their reality, and adopting the Christmas tree and the cards and the Yule log. And oftentimes you could hear soldiers actually singing. So it was quite a celebration.
Yeah, I agree completely. And speaking of some of the suspensions of reality, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a game I was telling you about Snapdragon. I know I'd mentioned it to you before. So Snapdragon was this fascinating game that I can't find when they stopped playing it, but it was definitely popular in the 1820s in specifically Europe. So
Okay.
basically what Snapdragon was you would take raisins or cranberries, you would soak them in brandy or rum for a while. They don't say how long. So we're talking drunken raisins probably. And then you would light them on fire. And then your job was to grab them out of wherever they're burning before they completely burned up. And apparently, like, this is popular enough that if you read old Alice in Wonderland, like the looking through the Looking Glass book, it's actually mentioned in that book, speaking about playing Snapdragon. So apparently this was popular. I'm going to say I'm glad this is no longer something we do anymore.
Okay, so play with fire, put fire in your mouth, light off fireworks.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they all seem to go hand in
Is
hand
this
with what
safe?
we've also found as being a drunken, just crazy party.
Yeah.
So I know
Well,
you had mentioned to me that a lot of the, I don't want to say visual aesthetic, but the visual aesthetic we think of it came from the newspapers and ladies magazines of this era. Talk a little bit about that.
yeah, in the 1800s, when Christmas really started picking up, the ornaments were very simple. They were oftentimes homemade. We're talking popcorn on string, or oranges and lemons that have been dried in the sun. Little handmade trinkets, really, made out of paper products that were actually kind of expensive to get paper. But as the era went on, there were newspapers and ladies' magazines that really raised the standard for decorating and using ornaments. And I just wanted to cite that one actually had suggested using a cotton ball dipped in a thin gum Arabic solution, and then used diamond dust to make a beautiful frosting for tree branches. So we are starting to get into more of a sophisticated type of consumerism nod.
Gotcha. And yeah, so I mean, so it sounds like we're starting to sound a lot more like modern day Christmas. So as we were saying, guys, this is a kind of snippet of what Christmas was like in this era. This is necessarily not necessarily what Joseph did, because as we've read about, talked about Joseph, he didn't seem like the kind of guy that was going to go out and drag in a 20-pound Christmas tree to his little shed while he was having his furs. But you could definitely see his wife Angelique, who is known a little bit more for her upper class taste, probably suggesting these kind of things to Joseph. By the time he founded the town and it was growing, and you're getting to those 1850s era, you probably were seeing more and more houses around town as more affluent people moved in, having these ornate Christmas trees and having large Christmas parties that the be-all and end-all of St. Joe were visiting. Does that sound about right, Brooke?
And Christmas trees at this time frame, towards the latter part of the century, the city centers were actually also adopting, fresh cut Christmas trees around storefronts, business districts downtown. So it originally, it had entered public spaces.
Yeah. So like we said, we wanted to give you guys a little taste of Christmas, 1821 to 1860 some. But just so you guys can get a little taste of that, what we would love for you guys to do is down in the comment section below here, let us know a little bit about your Christmas traditions. Do you guys do some of these traditions still? I know my family still does the Christmas tree, even though mine's not a full traditional Christmas tree. We still do some Christmas cards. We do that kind of stuff. So, let us know some of the stuff your family does, and what some of the, are any of these traditions you're hearing about here, like something you want to start doing? I mean, are you going to start playing Snapdragon? Are you going to start buying diamond dust to put on your tree? Some of these more interesting facets, are you guys going to start doing that? Along with that, we do guys want to give you a little bit of information on what the schedule is going to look like the upcoming weeks for here for the live stream. We are going to have next week have a podcast. It's going to be a really fun story about a local man here in St. Joe who, his story is not what you expect.
He's a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Exactly. So come back next
We own the
week. We're going to talk
copyrights.
about,
Can we sing that?
I don't know. If we can't, someone will come tell me. But we are going to talk about the Grinch of St. Joseph next week. So join us again next week for that. We also do want to let you guys know we have very short time before the end of the season here. So the podcast is going to have 2 weeks off after next week for Christmas and New Year's. And then Brooke and I right now are working on a brand new, really interesting new type of, I don't want to say show, but we'll call it a short season. We're going to be doing some stuff. I'll give you a hint. It's going to be out in the community. We're not going to be stuck behind our desks like we are here. We're going to try and have some excitement and try and get out some places. So definitely come back after Christmas break. While you're on Christmas break, go back and watch all of our old videos. Along with that, head over to our YouTube channel. We've been updating a lot of videos over there. We're going to be getting all these podcasts up there soon. And early next week, we are going to be uploading a really cool video that was done by Chef Ralph Filpelli for us here at The Row, talking about kind of what we talked about today, but on the food side of the story. So you guys can learn about mincemeat pie and all the crazy stuff that people ate during that time. So Brooke, do you have any other additions about The Row that's going on right now, or anything you'd like to add for the people?
Yeah, we talked about the frosting for the trees. I just wanted to give a quick tip to anyone out there that wants to try this, only in modern day times. You can actually use baking soda and then get a water bottle, fill it with a little bit of water, and then actually just spritz lightly on the branch. And easy to clean, organic, biodegradable, so it's easy for pets, easy for kids, and it's non-toxic. So if you want that white Christmas look on your trees, you don't need diamond dust and gum Arabic solution. Uh,
Well,
you
sounds
can do this
good.
at home, folks.
Yeah. So definitely, if you're gonna do some of those things, let us know. We'd love to even see pictures of them, so we can definitely check out those amazing trees you guys are doing. As always, the museum is open for about 2 more weeks, and then we're closing for the season. So if you're still wanting to get your fix, or you still got to run out here, or you still need to get that one present for your family member, we do have some great items from Cat Designs. We've got great items from Midwest Moonlight Leather, as well as some custom paintings done by custom pictures done by our very own Brooke, and the new magnets we talked about. So come by here, check out the gift shop, get that gift for that special person in your life that's going to be one of a kind, that no one else is going to be able to get them because you went here to get it from us. We wish you guys a happy holidays. We'll see you back here this time or a little earlier next week. And we look forward to hearing from all you guys. You have a Merry Christmas.